Hello, this is your 10.4 tutorial. To begin, we'll start with clicking on the A, going to New. Make sure you load your McFadder templates where you save yours. Locations may vary. Mine are saved in my documents. In the McFadder templates folder. Today we're going to be using McFadder ACAD. For ease of the video, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the grid. This next step I do, you do not have to do. I'm going to insert and attach an image of the problem that we are here to solve today. This way we can work on it together. All right, so we're only going to be doing a 2-view drawing, the top view and a front view. I feel confident that the majority of the information we're going to be needing is going to be on the top view, showing us where all the cuts for the holes are going to be. So we're going to begin with that. The overall distance is 5 by 2. So I'm going to start, before we do that, let's go ahead and save our drawing. Save as. Make sure you save your work where you're going to be saving the majority of your work to. And this is going to be saved as the 10.4. So now we have that saved. If there ever needs to be recovery, that knows where to save it. Now, what was our overall? 5 by 2. With the line command active, start a base point, project to the right, and then go 5, and then go up 2. And I'll just go ahead and go past, and go past. Then I'll use trim, selecting my 2 cutting planes to remove this and this here. All right, so now that's taken care of. Let's go ahead and start working with some of these dimensions that we have on the top view. We have one offset at 5. We use the copy command. Oh, excuse me, 0.5. Next we have is 4.5. Then we have a 1. And from the other side we have a 1. So I'm going to hit escape. I accidentally copied a 5, so I'm going to delete this line right here. So there's not 2 lines on top of each other. Then I'm going to go ahead and copy this line from the right this time to the left at 1. Now, the first 0.5, those are going to be center lines. So I'm going to make those so. So I know to reference these as center lines later on. Next ones I have from the top down as 1.5, and the other one is 0.5. So I'm going to use the copy command, selecting the base, right click, selecting a base point, and then moving it down, 0.5, enter, and 1.5. Right click, enter. These are for the circles, so I'm going to select these and make them center lines. All right, I have those marked. So the majority of the work is already done. Now so I put the circles in. The circles are 0.296 through. So I'm going to go ahead and use a circle diameter at the intersection. And the diameter is 0.296. And since it's the same, I'm going to select the first circle that I drew using the copy command, picking the center of the circle and putting it at each intersection as noted here. And then I have a note here that the fillets are 0.125. So I need to round these edges off here. So I'm going to use my fillet command. I'm going to type in R to set my radius. Once I hit R and enter, I can then type in my radius. Radius is 125.125. Enter. And now that allows me to select the top line and the line on the left. Right click, repeat fillet. I can select the line on the left and select the front. Then I could right click, repeat fillet, the line on the right and the line on the front. Right click, repeat fillet, the top, the back side, and the right. Notice that I didn't do any particular order. I only needed to make sure I selected one, then two. So I could select this is my one, and this is my two, or this is my one, and this is my two. Doesn't matter for the fillet, as long as I select two lines that could intersect with each other at any point in time. And that match the fillet size. All right, so here we go. We got that all taken care of. I'm going to go ahead and delete these center lines that I have here. And I'm going to go ahead and use the annotate tool, center mark, selecting, let me make sure I'm in the center line tool when I do that, hit undo. Center. And now go to annotate, center mark. I can select each individual center, making those lines there. And then I can go back to home and draw lines connecting those center marks together. Let's see if I can get a break if I go from the inside. Erase this one first. Sometimes it's good to go ahead and play with some of these lines to see what comes out the best. From here. Nope, not far enough. So I'm going to delete this, and I'll just put it back in the way it was. At least they're connected. All right, so now the center marks are marked here for this top view. Now we can start working on the front view. And change back to layer 0. I'm also going to select all my line work I have here. Now this can be changed to object layer. Then I can start doing my projection. Now make sure not to hit a nearest point on this. Make sure you hit the end point. Bringing it down. I'm going to use copy. Selecting that endpoint and going to the quadrant, to the center, to the quadrant, end of line, end of line, quadrant, center, quadrant, and end. So all relevant information has now been projected. I know these are going to be holes, so I'm going to change those to center lines, or hidden lines, excuse me. And since these are center lines, I'm going to change them to center, just so I could differentiate my different line types. Then I'm going to draw one line to make the base. From the base, I have a first height of 0.625. So I'm going to select that line and copy. Going up, 0.625, enter. The next dimension for the height I have is a 0.75. That'll be the top. 0.75, enter. So there's all my different heights. Only two that I have is 0.25 and 0.75. With that done, I can now start trimming. If I look carefully at this, you can see it has little side wings that are smaller than the middle. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and cut out. I'm going to remove the excess lines that are coming out here and the lines that are going past. So I'll start with trim, selecting my edges, top, middle, bottom, right click. Going to cut all these away for now. I don't need this line here, nor this line here. I can cut away all these. Notice I'm not trying to cut this one because I can't, because I cut it out of order. If you haven't done that yet, you could always cut these first and then cut these. For example, I could cut these here and then come back in and remove these two. You could also remove this one. We'll fix that later. All right, I didn't pick this as a cutting plane, so I can't cut this line nor this line. So let's go ahead and do that. Repeat trim, selecting this and this to cut away at this and that. Repeat trim. I need this and those two lines again. Cut the bottom and cut the tops. I didn't cut these tops here, which I should have done. This one and this one to cut these away. And I'm left with these two. I'll just delete those. All right, so there's our drawing. So I need fillets here and here. So I'm going to use the fillet command. When I look at the bottom of the screen, you'll notice that down here, it says 0.125, which is the size of all the fillets. So I can go ahead and just continue selecting my lines, 1 and 2. Right-click, repeat fillet, 1 and 2. And now those have been rounded off. Draw a line here off to the side. Try and see where the, oh, do center line. Try and get a gauge for where the pop happens. So about here. What I'm going to do is going to take these center lines out. And to simplify, I'm going to go from corner to corner. And from corner to corner. I grab this center line. Use the copy command. Grab the midpoint and put it on the midpoint of that point and the midpoint of that line. And I'll just delete any access lines. Now I have my nice center lines in place. Select all this information here. Notice how I'm making sure to click a crossing window over the fillet, making sure I get that in my selections. Once I selected my perimeter, I'm going to change that to object. And just for good measure, I'm going to make sure I save. Don't want to lose any of the work that I've done so far. All right, now we got a nice top view, good front view. Now we're pretty much ready for annotations. So let's go ahead and look at our layout. Let's go to an A-size sheet. Click inside the viewport. For you, you'd hit the center scroll button twice. And go to 1-to-1. Looks like it'll fit nicely on a 1-to-1. Just select this top view and move it down a little bit. Let me turn off that grid so you can see it a little bit easier. Click outside the viewport. A little bit on the top, so I'm going to take these two views. Oh, let me just select inside the viewport. I'll pan it up just a little bit. And there we go. It looks like we're nice and centered, 1-to-1 scale, A-size sheet of paper. Looks good to me. All right, so we have a couple of dimensions we have to do here. Now, on this very rough draft, you're going to notice a couple little bit of errors on this. Don't worry about it too much. But one thing that we haven't gone over is our surface finish. Okay, you'll see this in your reading. Okay, it's the type of finish that's done to the material on the surface. And all we have to do is notate that. So we just put a little check mark. You draw that in, and then put some text in that says what that surface finish is. Okay, and in here, they've made this very confusing. It looks like it's a dimension. Do not make this part of the dimension. Put it under the dimension, if anything. Or, as they show here, you can just draw a line off to the side and then put the check mark. That way they know that this surface, the bottom surface, is going to be 125. Okay? So we could do that either inside the dimension area, or we can draw a little access line here and then show that note. Also, they show a fillet dimension here. It's better to put it as a note. So we'll go ahead and put that as a note as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and change my inner layer. Let's make sure we save before we get too far into our dimensioning. And we can start putting our dimensions in. So I'm going to give a linear dimension from n to n, placing that here. Then a dimension from here to here. That looks sloppy, so I don't want to do that. And delete it. And then I'm going to apparently turn off my monitor, but it's back on now. All right, I'm going to dimension from the top of this to the bottom, which will then put the dimension going under. Maybe I'll move this a little bit further out. Notice that I'm avoiding these snap points. I don't trust them. All right, then I could draw that little check mark in here. Let's take a look and see if it's looking good on the layout. A little tight so far, but we're fine. So for this, it's going to look a little bit artistic. Yours may vary. Start with a line coming from here down, hitting any nearest point, and then coming up. You'll notice that I turned ortho off for this because I want to just draw this in nice and neat. Then I'm going to put some text in. Multi-line text. I can then select a point and then pull a box out. I'm going to avoid snap points. I don't want to click anything particular. And then I can type in what the text is. The text for the bottom is 125. So I'll type in 125. Then I'll click away when I'm done typing. And then I get my text box. I can select my text and use the move command. Pick a random base point. And I can just gradually, because I still have ortho off, just move it right into place, somewhere within that check mark. And since I have this now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this area here and use the copy command. Copy it from the intersection. I'm going to go ahead and put one right here on the top. The text for this surface is 63. So I'm going to double click on this and make this 63, clicking away from it. Now I have both those annotations here. This might look a little bit better if I move it just a little bit more inside the check mark. There we go. Looking good. I'm gonna move a little bit more past. Right there. So the arrow is kind of like pointing at that. Looks nice and neat. All right, so we got that good. Now we can continue with the rest of our dimensions. We have our sides. I might want to put our ortho back on. Right here. So we don't accidentally make anything on an angle. linear dimension from here to here. Line that up. All right, looking good. Now on the top view, we have 3 dimensions. To the center, to the other center, and to the overall. With that piece of information, I might want to move these down just a hair. So I grab the little arrow. I'm going to line it up with this so they're in line. And then I'm going to put some linear dimensions in here from here to there. From here to that center. And from here to the end. This is starting to look a little crowded, so I'm going to space this out according to how this looks here, even though it's a little bit crowding the other dimension. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these dimensions and this line, top view, and I'm going to move it apart a little bit more. Yours may vary depending on how close or far away you made it. There you go. Let's look clean of the read. Nice, good spacing. All right, the rest of these holes are. Let's go to linear. Selecting here to center. Pull that out. From here to the center. And pull that out. And then from here to here. And place that there. Now, I'll notice that I have a lot of zeros where they only have 2 places. But on some of these, it's very important to have 3 places. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the overall DIMS style. I'm going to modify the global. Primary units, precision to 2. Hit OK. And close. Now the ones that were a 3, okay, I need to update those. So this one right here, it's now rounding it. So I'm going to select that. I think is that my only 3. Until I get to the diameter circle. So go ahead and I'll change that one. So now it's changing this one individual dimension. Right click. Properties. And I'm going to go to primary units, precision, and set it to 3 places. And I'll close this and hit the escape key. And so now that has changed 3 places. Now it has eliminated all my extra zeros other than my 2 places that I want. All right, so now I need my radius, and I'm going to need to add a note. So let me put that in. Diameter dimension. Selecting the circle. I'm going to place this up here, right about here. And then I'm going to select this, go right click, properties. And I'm going to change this in our primary units to 3 places. So it's no longer rounding it anymore. Then I'll hit the escape key, and I'll exit the dimension properties. Oh, one thing I forgot. I should have done this before. Let's right click and dimension properties again. We have a center mark. Let's go ahead and get rid of that extra center mark. So under lines and arrows, let's change that line to none. So we don't cover up our nice center lines. All right, looking good. All right, for this last part, we have our note for a radius of 0.125. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto my landscape. Let's go ahead and center this a little better. You can just hit your center scroll button twice and it'll zoom into the extents. Then you can change your scale back to 1:1. For here, I'm going to go to the text, multi-line text, and right here in this corner, I'm going to add my note. Cap locks. F I trying to show you this at the same time. OLETS. Now they put theirs in lowercase. You should make sure that you put yours in capitals. It's more proper for a set of prints to have it in capital letters versus having it in lowercase. Okay, then our dots here, backspace, shift dots, space, what's that? Radius 0.125. Radius, space, 0.125. Clicking away from that, puts that in there. Get this back into a good view. You wouldn't have done all that zooming in and zooming out, so yours wouldn't be messed up. I gotta change mine back. Trying to show you guys at the same time I was typing it in. All right, so now we got our note. This is our fillets, and that way we don't have to have a dimension coming off of here, which then we would have to name how many fillets, and also indicate these are also part of the fillets. An overall general note is much preferred in this situation. All right, so we click out of the viewport so I don't change the scale by accident. Let's save our drawing. All right, now that we've saved that, we can then go ahead and start putting in information. Sheet 1 of 1, the project, your scale, and drawn by, your name, and then the date of completion. From here, we want to save again. And then with that, we'll go ahead and print. So go to the print, continue single sheet. From here, you can go ahead and do drawing the PDF, will be as your default because you use the correct template. It'll say monochrome. And then you'll go ahead and go to preview. Take a look at your drawing, make sure all the line weights are correct, all the dimensions are where they're supposed to be. Once you've done that, we can go ahead and hit the X button on there. And then from here, click the OK button. Once you click the OK button, you'll be prompted with the Adobe PDF. You will save the file with the rest of the work that you'll be turning into Mr. Regas per his instructions. This has been your 10.4 tutorial, and I'll see you in the classroom. Bye-bye.